Back during the Call of Duty Next event, we were told that Modern Warfare 2 is going to have raids. Now, they're actually not going to be there at launch, they're probably going to launch sometime during Season 1, but we do know eventually Modern Warfare 2 will be getting raids. But this left a lot of people a little bit confused in the Call of Duty community because not many people are familiar with raids because Call of Duty has never had raids before. So a lot of people are wondering like, well, what are those? And that's exactly what this video is trying to answer, trying to give you guys a basic idea of what raids are in Modern Warfare 2 and what to expect from them. And with that said, let's get right into the explanation of what to expect for raids in Modern Warfare 2. So the first thing I think we should all understand about raids is that each game that has raids is going to have their own take on it. They're going to do something unique there. They're not all going to be exactly the same, obviously. So in Modern Warfare 2, we can't just look to Destiny 2 and look at what they did and say, oh, that's what's going to happen over here. No, of course, there's going to be some different things. And one way that I actually do think the raids are going to be kind of different in this game is because I think the developers at Infinity Ward are going to take inspiration from COD Zombies for the raids. And the reason I say this is because COD Zombies has already had something that's kind of similar to raids for a while. And what that is the main Easter eggs or main quests. These have been in Zombies for a long time, and they have a very similar structure to how raids work. So I imagine, since Infinity Ward has made their own Zombies mode in the past, that they will take inspiration from that to then make their own raids. And for this reason, I will be using Zombies as an example here and there just because I do think there will be inspiration taken from it. But at the same time, even though all raids in all games are going to be slightly different, there are some basic structural things to raids that are continuously the same for the majority of the times, and I kind of want to go over that. And one of the best places to start is how are raids even played to begin with, and how many players are required. Well, the first thing about raids is that all of them that I've ever seen are co-op. In Modern Warfare 2, it's already been confirmed that it's going to be 3-player co-op, which is a lot smaller player count than I've seen in other raids, but that's what they've already told us it's going to be. The other thing that's important to understand about raids is how are these maps even laid out? Well, for a Call of Duty player, I think the most similar thing you could think of is more of a campaign style mission, because how these are kind of played out, and we'll get into further explanation of these things I'm about to talk about, but they're laid out through encounters. And kind of how they work is that you'll run through the map for a little bit, you'll run into an encounter, you'll complete that encounter, then you'll run through the map a little bit more, run into another encounter, and you kind of do that over and over again until you get to the final encounter and you beat that, and of course you succeed at beating the raid. And again, we'll come back to these encounters in just a little bit and explain what they are, but that's how they're going to be kind of laid out, similar to a campaign mission. Now, unlike a campaign mission, there is no save points at all, so if your team gets wiped, it's game over and you have to start over from scratch. But what exactly could cause your game to get a game over? Well, of course, it's going to be these encounters that I've already mentioned. And these encounters are probably going to be unique to Modern Warfare 2, so I can't exactly tell you what's going to happen, but there's a basic idea of how every encounter happens in almost every raid ever. The encounters consist of a mini boss fight, objectives, or puzzles. Or if Infinity Ward really wants to go crazy with them, they could make them a mixture of these things. There could be mini boss fights that have a puzzle in the middle of them, or objectives that have puzzles in the middle of them, or even mini bosses thrown in the middle of objectives. Just something crazy like that. Really, it comes down to how insane Infinity Ward really wants to make their encounters. Now, if I had to think of a couple of examples of how some of these encounters could really look, I mean, objectives, they could just look like something that we've seen in COD Zombies, or even campaign missions like an escort mission or something like that. And for puzzles, like just think of almost any Easter egg step in the history of COD Zombies, like almost all of them are like puzzle steps, so just take your choice and you think of that for a puzzle. And then for mini boss fights, the only thing similar in COD Zombies to them would be kind of the spider boss fight from Zetsubo no Shima, but that seems a little bit easy for a mini boss fight. compared to the ones that I've seen in all the other games with their raids. So, but then again, it just comes down to how hard Infinity Ward really wants to make these. And these are going to be kind of what you should expect out of these encounters. Again, it really comes down to Infinity Ward and how difficult or crazy or whatever they really want to do with them. If they want to throw in mini boss fights with puzzles and objectives in the middle of them, they could do that, or they could just simply leave it as mini boss fights, objectives, and puzzles, and that's all they could do. Again, it's up to them. Now, of course, the final encounter is actually different from all the other ones because this one is the final boss fight. And if there had to be something similar in COD Zombies, it would just be the final boss fights during main Easter eggs, you know, something crazy like that. And once again, when it comes down to how crazy or difficult they want to make them, it all comes down to Infinity Ward and how they want to do it. They can make them as crazy as Destiny 2 final boss fights, or they can make them as kind of simple as maybe the Division 2's boss fights. It's really up to them. And we really just have to wait and see till we get the raids on our hand to see how crazy they decide to make them. Of course, I'm hoping that they do go for the more Destiny 2 style, but again, we'll wait and see. Regardless though, that's what we should expect out of these encounters. Now the question does become, how many encounters are there in a raid? Well, again, it's up to the developers, but through all of the raids that I've seen, they have somewhere between 4 to 6 encounters, including the final boss. This of course may make you curious, well, how long is this exactly going to take? Well, I think once people know how to beat them, they'll probably take around 45 minutes to an hour to complete, just based on seeing how long it takes other people to complete raids. But on day one, I imagine it's going to take much longer, and for people who just are unfamiliar with how to beat the raid, they're just not going to know how to solve certain puzzles, they're not going to know how to beat current objectives, they're not going to know the unique ways to beat the mini bosses, or especially the final boss. So it could take you multiple hours if you don't know what you're doing, but if you do, I imagine it could be much faster. Pretty much exactly how main Easter eggs are in COD Zombies. Initially, they seem pretty difficult, but once you know what you're doing, they're relatively easy. And all of that, I think, gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect from raids in Modern Warfare 2. But if there's one last thing I'd mention about raids, is the potentials for rewards of beating a raid. Now, given Call of Duty's history on not giving too many rewards for completing main Easter eggs and zombies, I could imagine they could just do something and just give us a cutscene and say that's it. But I kind of hope that they would do something crazier, maybe giving us a unique blueprint, camo, or something like that, or even a skin. That would be really cool. But regardless, this is all up to Infinity Ward to really decide how the rewards, if there's going to be any at all, would be handled. But with that though, that brings this video to an end. And of course, I would love to hear from you guys and what you think about raids in Modern Warfare 2. Do you think there's going to be something really unique to it that I didn't mention in this video, or did I make a mistake somewhere that you want to correct? Or if you just have some crazy idea of what you want to see in raids in Modern Warfare 2, leave all those thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Regardless though, that's going to wrap it up for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all that normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm gonna go catch you guys next stream video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters guys.